Okay, remember your learner guide is available on your Vutela site as well, and in your learner guide you will see you have assignment 1 that you will find on page 15 in your learner guide. Unfortunately I haven't put it on the slide, but I'm just going to read through and tell you what it is about. Your first assignment is identifying a viable research topic. And I think most of you have already done that with collaboration with your mentors last week on Thursday. So this assignment will contribute to your final mark for this module. It forms part of outcome 1. It will include a test and assignment 1. It contributes 25 marks of the 500 marks that you need to obtain for the whole year. This assignment you need to do in typed format on an A4 paper and must be completed within a limit of 500 words. If you don't know, we will have the practical classes next week where we can assist you with all the questions that you will have. Now, the theoretical component of this project, you need to design a title for your project, because with your mentors, some of you have something in between a topic and a title. I will explain in today's lecture exactly what's the difference between a topic and a title. Then we are going to look into what is a problem statement, the information, additional information for the problem statement have already been posted on your Vutela site. We are going to look in depth in what is a research question. We're also going to look into what is the objectives of your project, and we are going to look into secondary objectives. So that is in broad what your assignment will be about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start now with your research question. You will also find this in chapter 1 in your textbook. So for today, research question, topic, title, objectives. I've already discussed assignment 1 with you, and then you can also find information on the motivation of the study on your Vutela site. Now, introduction. What is a research question and why is it important? Your research question is a very important question that you need to ask to help you to design a very good quality research project for the end of the semester. So the quality of your question specifically will be very important. Why? Because it directs your research. It tells you where you need to go. You will see the next one. It focuses you. It gives you a scope. Your research question, with that you should not prove something. It is merely a question about the issue, not to prove something. Your research question should be original. In other words, your research should not be done before. We've already looked into that when we help you with choosing your research topic. Your research question should be clear and centered. You should use many sources and integrate them and use those sources to formulate your question. Now I'm just going to stop here. I want to see whom of you have been to the library orientation this week. All of you, good. So you know now where to find your sources. So that is why that session in the library was so important. You are going to need to search your sources from your topic, about your topic, and from that it will assist you to develop your research question. Okay. So this question tells you what literature to read as well. So the one directs to the one side and it also directs to the other side. The research question also helps to narrow down your research. And then one thing that happens in research and that you will see throughout this year, your research question can be modified throughout the year, so it is not carved in stone. And we can even discard it later on and start afresh with a new question. So that is why it's very important that you go also to your mentors and discuss your problem statement and your research question with them so that they can give you directions whether this should be rephrased or discarded together with the topic that you have already chosen. So, your homework will be to this weekend to go and think what is your research question for your specific project. Right. Now, you ask, what must I do? Go and find a research question. How do I do that? A research question has certain qualities, and I hope if you understand the qualities, you will be able to put forward your research question. After you have write down your research question, these steps will also help you to analyze your question and see if it is correct. The first thing is, your research question should be one line. In other words, it is one question that you are going to ask, and it should be a concise question. It should be clear. What do I mean by clear? It means it must be understandable for, and I don't want to write it down, you must try and go and explain this to your grandmother or your grandfather. What is your research topic about? Okay. So that is what it means. It's clear. It must be so clear that your grandmother will understand it. Okay. I don't care if she is a professor or she is just a lay person, a housewife, or not working, or staying in a rural village. If you are able to explain your research question and your research topic to your grandmother or to your parents, you understand your topic, okay? And you understand the question that you are going to ask, okay? Right. It must be operationable. In other words, it must be practical and easy to do. We have already checked when we dish out your topics and discuss your topics with the mentors that it's easy to do the project, okay? And that it will be an easy question to ask. Now, the question should be open-ended. This research question that you are going to ask, this one-line question, should be open-ended. Anyone in the class who can help me? What is an open-ended question? Sorry? Who wants to say? Will you please put up your hand and say it out loud? Will you guys please stand for me at the back of the class? Unfortunately, we do not have enough space. Right, let us get them settled in. Can they go and collect? Will you guys please go and collect for yourself chairs from the other classroom? Sir, go and collect for yourself a chair in the opposite classroom and bring it here. Okay, in the meantime, you think of what is an open-ended question. I also asked there, what is a close-ended question? Yes, ma'am.
It's something that doesn't have a direct response. So
Okay, here's an answer for an open-ended question.
Something that doesn't have a direct response, so it can be explored.
So it is something and question that does not have a direct response. For instance, a close-ended question would be, would you like some coffee?
Yes or no.
You can answer yes or no. I can also ask the same question on the same issue. What would you like to drink?
Tea or coffee.
Tea or coffee? Now I'm running into trouble because I don't have tea. Eh? So what am I going to do? So can you see how one puts a question is very important. So if I know that I do not have tea in my house, I need to give you options to choose from. The moment you have options to choose from, you have a close-ended question. You are forced to give a specific answer. An open-ended question is a wide question. So there you want people to tell you their story. All right. So your research question is one question which should tell the story of your topic. Okay. You've got your topic, so this question needs to tell the story of your topic. And it should not have a yes or a no answer. Are you all clear on that? Any questions from you? Are you all happy? Right. Then, it should be elegant. Now, what do I mean by elegant? It means it needs to include certain keywords. Do you know what is keywords? Who wants to try and answer me? What is keywords? Let me rephrase. Where will you find your keywords for your study? In your? Who say something here? Don't be shy. Where will you find your keywords for your research? Will you please collect a chair on the opposite side? Where will you find keywords? Remember the librarian told you you need keywords to come and do a search in the library? Now, where on earth will you find that keyword? In your title or in your topic. You will also find it in your research question. Okay, so you need to have those keywords in your research question. You may go through. Okay, are you all settled in? Right. So, your research questions should reflect your keywords. It should reflect your title. So, all of that needs to be into your keywords. I will show you some examples. It should be timely. In other words, it should be relevant. It should be issues that are happening now. We do not investigate the past. We do not know what is going to happen in future. All right. So we need to have it timely that your mentors have already helped you with in selecting your topic. So you can tick that one already. It should be theoretical rich. That one question that you are going to ask, we should be able to break up into sub-questions. Okay, so it is one big overall question that you are going to ask that we can break down into smaller questions. Now, most of the students have difficulties with their research question because most students tend to go into the small little questions that you want to ask. Those are the questions that you need to put into your questionnaire or into your focus group and so on. We don't want that questions now, all right? When we are going to do assignment 3, we want that detailed questions on your topic. We want now the broad question of what your research is all about. So it leads to more questions, and there are no yes or no answers to this question. It should have a puzzle feature in it. Now, what does it mean that it must, if you ask that broad question, that grandma of you must come up with another question to you and ask you something more about it, okay? So then it's puzzling, because what you do with this question, you need to trigger your reader to want to understand more what it is all about. That is why this is a broad question. And it also helps them to identify the gap in your research. The gap is very important. Your research questions should be directed towards a gap. You will see later on in your problem statement, you must address that gap. So your question must help you and lead you towards the gap. Right, and it should attract attention. So people want to know the answer. So it must be of interest to somebody. It should be self-explanatory. In other words, it should cover your topic. It should also cover your variables. Now I want to stand still on the word variables. What does the word variable mean for you? Anyone would like to answer me? What is a variable? Sorry? Where? What is a variable? Yes, sir? It's an option. In other words, a variable is, you get two options, you can choose between one. Okay, so it is something that is different from another thing. So what we are talking in research is about variables. Now, variables is the words or the concepts that can be changed from one. It can be one meaning more than one thing. That is a variable. So it varies. Okay. So you can go and look into your topics, and you will already, some of those keywords already indicate variables for you. So keywords is equal to a variable. Okay, so your variables are those things that can be changed. Right, I will give later more examples. Then also, a thing that I'm very excited about is that your research question should be grammatically correct. Now, I'm excited that you must write grammatically correct. We have discovered a wonderful program that is called Grammarly, and that you can install on your computer. I will ask Dr. Berger to post the link for Grammarly on your Vitella website so that you can download it on your computer on which you are going to work. And that will assist you with the language. Yes, ma'am.
But then for it to work not online, when it works on your Word document, you have to pay for it. It doesn't, you don't get a free subscription for it to actually work on your non-online thing.
Have you already tried that? I think what we need to do is I will also ask Mr. Venter to come to the practical classes and just explain to us how that works and to answer that question about Grammarly. Because also we cannot install it in the laboratory in M00 because that also got the deep freeze program on. So while I'm talking about the deep freeze program, I also can inform you on that. Deep freeze is a program where it ensures that you do not get viruses on your stick from the previous student using that computer. So yay for that, okay. But there's a trick in that. The computer needs to be switched off. So every time that you are going to the practical class, please switch off the computer. We also save electricity with that. We save the lifespan of the computer as well. Make sure when you enter the class and your computer is on, please switch it off before you put in your USB stick, okay? Because a USB is a very dangerous device, okay? For those of you who do not know, if you pick up a virus, VUT have an antivirus program on their computers. So when you put it in your stick into a VUT computer, it will wipe everything from your stick and it's lost forever. You are going to retype, redo everything. So one of the first rules that I want to explain in my class for students is so important. Go and buy yourself a rewritable CD. Okay, if you cannot afford a rewritable CD, open for yourself an iCloud account and save your work in your iCloud account. Okay, it is in iCloud and the antivirus programs will not delete it from there. But carrying back and forth a USB stick is very, very dangerous. Okay, you will lose your work. It's not a question of not losing your work, it's when you are going to lose your work. Okay, right. And like Dr. Berger said previously, your problems are not our problems. Okay, we have warned you about it. Make sure that you do not lose your work. Another bad thing that happens to students, they steal your laptops, wherever. Then you lost everything because you save everything on your laptop. Don't do it. Always, always have backups. I've got a colleague who did the following. On Sunday mornings, she put her CD backup in her handbag and go with that to the church. Leave the laptop at home, have a copy in her office on her computer, and have another copy with a friend. So be secure, okay? Make sure it does not happen to you. A year is a very short lifespan, or a very short time in our lives. Really, you cannot afford losing any of your work, okay? Not only for research. If I'm talking and giving tips here, remember, this is also applicable to all other BTech subjects. Save your things on a safe place. Having backups. My own experience, my computer crashed the day before I have to submit my whole doctoral thesis of 500 pages. Needless to say, I quickly printed it out and then have to retype that whole thing because I didn't have a backup. No, I have a backup which was a month old. So the past month's work I had to fit in there. Can you imagine how much time does it take? It set you back weeks. Listen, you really don't have time to be set back, okay? And I cannot guarantee that I will not steal your laptop or any of your things will get lost or your USB will get destroyed throughout the year, okay? It does happen always. So make a backup. Am I clear? Okay. You all will do a backup? Yes. That's the first thing I taught my children as well. You need to have backups. So they were so clever at the end of the day. They all constantly asked me, where's your backup? Where's your backup? Okay. The same thing happened with my husband. It happened with everybody. Right. Let's go on. How should a good research question then look like? Like King Solomon have said in the Bible, there is nothing new under the sun. So, what new am I going to discover? It will be new in the specific context that you are working, all right. But we will use some of the previous work, and that is why you go to the library, okay. So you don't have to be a creator or a god to create something new. What I want to illustrate with this, it is not so difficult to get to your research question, okay. Although it will have some elements of newness in it, it will not be a total new question under the sun, and that is not what we expect from you to do. All right. Right, you will see that I put there in brackets the word ref. I did it on purpose because that is a quotation, and I want to bring back your referencing skills as well. Don't forget to reference if you use any literature. All right. I didn't put the this in there because I want to illustrate to you, if your mentor or your lecturers are going to mark your work and they put in brackets the word ref, it means they are looking for your reference, and you have to go back and find the reference for that and put it in there. In other words, a reference is required at that particular space. Is that clear to all of you? Any questions on referencing? Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask something. If you're using a Google literacy, like Google Scholar,
Yes.
after referencing, do you need to write Google Scholars? Because I noticed on Google that they put on their citation, they added Google Scholars. So.
No, you don't have to put it in your in-text reference. Can you remember? Or your textual reference? That from Google Scholar just come at the end in your reference list. Okay, so you don't have to put it in the text. In the text, just come, remember the lecture on Thursday, the surname, the year, and the page number. Those three things are the in-text one. So I need to have there the author of the word Bible, since the Bible does not have an author. And then I have to put there the chapter and the verse in which we will find it. Okay, my presentation on referencing is also put on your Vutela site, so you can also go and look there on when you need to reference a Bible, how one should reference the Bible as well. Okay. Right, so I don't want to stand still now with referencing. I will continue later on with this lecture. For now, it's important that you know how to reference and that you are able to start working on your first assignment, which, by the way, the due date is the 8th of March. So that gives us 2 weeks to get around to it. It's a 500-word assignment. I'm not asking rocket science. Remember in the beginning of the lecture, I told you 500 words. So this is a 500-word assignment. Right. Let's go back to how should a good research question look like. You should include literature in your research question. It should be based on the literature. All right. Where does your keywords come from? I will explain to you later in my next reference lecture the difference between how to reference textbooks and how to reference journals, because I haven't started showing you how to reference journals as well. Okay. You have come across the word journal in your library training this week, so there's a few things more that I would like to explain about journals for you as well. Then, a good research question should come and should be evaluated by experts. So you should inquire an expert opinion on that. Now, where are you going to get that? From your mentor. Okay, so discuss it please with your mentor. We also find good research questions and work to help you to get a good research question from specialists conferences and seminars. So in your field, you will see sometimes there's also references that refer to conference and so on. You may also use that information from the literature of conferences. With my referencing, I will also explain more for you how to use the references. All right. Then, in your textbook on page 7, there is some questions that you can ask yourself. Look at those questions. I'm not going to lecture them because they are very practical. After you have set your research question, go and look at those questions. It will help you to get a good research question. Right. I've talked a little bit about different research questions. So how does a research question look like? I've put one on for you there, an example. This one reads, what role do various entrepreneurial traits play in the perceived success of fashion entrepreneurs in the Vaal region? So here's an example of a big research question. I've used this particular sample because think back of your undergrad work. Your lecturers have focused a lot on entrepreneurship in all your classes. So those of you who are coming from tourism, those from hospitality, those from public relations, all of you know something about entrepreneurship. Okay, so that is why I decided to use this. This was a project that the student did for the master's degree. So this is a research question that was used in the past. The question is then, what role do various entrepreneurial traits play in the perceived success of fashion entrepreneurs in the Vaal region? Who can identify for me keywords? Tell me, what will the keywords for your library research be from this question? Yes, ma'am. Fashion entrepreneurship will be a keyword. Right, back to your library training. If you put in fashion entrepreneur in the search for the library, are you going to put in the 2 words? Or what do you have to do? You can put an and, okay. Remember, if you put in fashion, the program will search for all the articles with the word fashion in it. It will also search for all the articles with entrepreneurship in it. So you have to combine it with inverted commas. It combines the word to one concept. Okay, so very important that you put it into inverted commas, because then it brings only articles which is about fashion entrepreneurs and not articles that have the word fashion and entrepreneur in it. Okay, because that might not be correct enough or fine enough. It might not direct you clearly. All right, good. Another example of a keyword there, apart from fashion entrepreneur. Sorry?
Traits,
Traits will be a good one to start with. Yes? Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, sir? Roles could be one, but think of the word roles. How will we link that to fashion? If you Google role, the word role, you are going to end up with millions of things. Narrow it down, okay? Very important. It is what roles are we talking here? Think about it. Roles of fashion entrepreneurs. Can you see? Now you have to put it into inverted commas. So most students come up and say, I'm searching but I find nothing. It's because you are not using your keywords correctly. So important that you use your keywords in the correct manner. Right. Here it say various entrepreneurial traits. Shoo. Who of you can remember in your subject on entrepreneurship, what are kind of traits of an entrepreneur? Sorry? An entrepreneur should be creative, okay. There should be a lot of things. Can you remember that list of things? All those things becomes your keywords. They can also become then your variables that you can investigate. So she's saying creative. So I'm expecting that when you are going to design your questionnaire, you have to ask questions about how creative these people are. Do you agree with me? Yeah. So can you see how you start breaking down your topic into various keywords, and that keywords is actually your variables? Okay. Any questions on this question? Can you see that Vol region gives a direction of where this research is going to take place? It guides us already and say it is a small area called the Vaal region. It's not the whole of Gauteng, it's not the whole of South Africa. Okay, so keep that in mind, that this question of yours should be narrowed down. If you are going to work in a specific industry, like you want to investigate something in Sasol, you cannot use the word Sasol because it will be unethical. All right, because you are using somebody else's name and you need to have permission to do it. So, what is Sasol? It's a petroleum industry or a petroleum company. Okay, so those of you in PR who's going to work on certain PR companies, go and look for an overall name for that company. Because if you are working in one specific company, you're not allowed to have that word into your research question, in your title, and in your topic. Okay. We may discuss it later on in our objectives and so on, and say specifically where we got it from. But the first part that's going to be available for the public eye, we are not allowed to use these companies' names. Okay. So those of you who are investigating specific radio stations, tourism, if you are investigating a specific hotel or a tourism industry or a national park and so on, you're not allowed to use the name. You can either refer to the region where that park is in, or just say it is a national park. Can you see how you can get around it? So words are getting very important. Hospitality students, please, you are not going to name there a specific restaurant name if you are working in a specific restaurant, okay? If you are working at Sisonke, it will be VUT training restaurant, or it will be a training restaurant, not even the VUT in the word, okay? Are you all happy with that part? Okay, so what role do various entrepreneurial traits? So you must know what is entrepreneurial traits. Okay, so you must go and search literature about entrepreneurial traits. Play in the perceived success. What is perceived? What does the word perceived means? Something that you are seeing. Perceived means it's very subjective. It is what a particular person see of themselves. In this research question, that word perceives then implies that we are going to look at fashion entrepreneurs and what they think about themselves. Okay. Not what anybody else is thinking about, and not what their customers are thinking of them, but what they think about their self, about their own success factors. Can you see that narrow your research down? And it makes it very focused and specific. Can you remember one of the qualities of your question is to be focused? So it's not so difficult to get all of these aspects into your research question. Okay. Fashion entrepreneur specifically shows you who is the person that this research is be about, so it focus down your research. Any questions on the example of a research question? There are also some more examples in your textbook. The textbook is, examples are based on educational research and students doing education. So it's not very much related into PR and so on, but I've tried to give you some examples that will be into your field. We will discuss that more into the practical classes as well, especially if you come up with your question and ask us to assist you with your questions. Okay. Then we've got a second group of questions apart from our research question, and that is field questions. That is the questions that you are going to ask in the field when you are doing your field work. So come back. Our research question is one question. Our field questions is the list of questions that we are using in our interview schedule or that we are using in our questionnaire. Do you get the difference between your research question and the questions that one use inside your project, in your questionnaire? Like she have said, in a questionnaire you will ask the question, I am happy with my sewing career. Do you see that question? It is not your research question. It's a question in your questionnaire because you want, one of the entrepreneurial traits is, how happy am I with my job? Can you see how happy I am? I translate now into a question. Okay. Now you wonder, what does SDDA and SA stands for? Strongly disagree, then disagree, agree, and strongly agree. Okay. Very important. The first part. I am happy with my sewing career. Can you hear? That's not a question, that's actually a statement. Do you hear that? So we have a statement and there are 4 options to choose from. Think back of earlier in the class. What type of question is this? Open-ended or close-ended? Close-ended question. Because one is forced to give you an answer. So, keep in mind, and this is a tip, and I'm putting it on the video so you can come back and look at my videos, that when you are going to design your own questionnaire, this year in assignment 3, you can use a statement as a question and you have a certain scale. That is what we call those 4 words that you have to use. I will lecture that also later in the year. Also, an interview question will be, describe how do you feel about your sewing career? That is an open-ended question. Now, what is the difference between the answers of an open-ended question and a close-ended question? Sorry?
You can elaborate on it.
A person can elaborate on an open-ended question. You get more information from an open-ended question that you have not bargained for. It is important for me to explain this already today to you so that you must go and think, what kind of questions do I want to ask in this project of mine? Close-ended questions, which is very much directed by the literature, because we know that entrepreneurial traits is, are you happy or unhappy? That is how you feel. Your feelings is part of your entrepreneurial, your traits. Creativity is part of your traits. So you can ask close-ended questions, and we all know what is all the traits. We don't have to go and discover the new traits. Okay. That is not the purpose, because that I can read from your textbook. You don't want to identify the traits of entrepreneurs. Do you hear the difference? What does that question say? What are the various entrepreneurial traits play in the success factors? We don't want to tell that this and this and this and this is entrepreneurial factors. No, that you can go and read in a textbook. Okay, so that is why you have to, again, carefully think about your sentence. Okay, but when we ask the interview question, that describes how you feel about it. And that we cannot go and read in a textbook. Is there any textbook that will be written on fashion entrepreneurs and how I feel in the Vaal region? No. They will just give you a textbook with the traits in it. Okay. And not that specific trait and what specific parts of these traits are applicable to the people in Gauteng. Okay. So think again about your project. Those of you who are doing in public relations, say for instance, and I'm now thinking of, you all know what are the corporate social responsibilities. Do you agree with me? You can list me all the corporate social responsibilities. So those of you who are going to look into the topic of corporate social responsibilities, I don't want you to go and identify for me the corporate social responsibilities. No, I want to know this responsibility. Say, giving free samples to a community. Do they do it effectively? How much do they do it? Do people want to receive it? Can you hear the difference in there? Okay. So think about this when you are doing your project. Okay. I don't want you to tell me what stands in the textbook. I want to know what that people in your group, your subjects, what do they think? What do they feel? Which are those corporate social responsibilities they like in a company or they don't like in a company? Do you get the idea of where you need to put your thinking in your research project? Okay, so it's a different way of thinking. In all your other subjects, your lecturers will require you to go to the library, do research, and give them the theory from the textbooks. Okay. Here you take the theory from the textbooks and you say, in this particular company, to what extent or how much are they doing this, which ones are missing, and so on. Can you see now you start identifying a gap? Do you get that? Okay. And can you see now you can answer a problem? Bringing us back to what is the problem of your research. Okay. So you don't answer me what stands in the textbooks. That is not how you're going to solve a problem. You must identify from out your subject what is the specific problem. And that question should be phrased in such a way that it can identify the problems. Can you see that that question will answer a problem? If you can't, you have to go and think about it. Why would we ask such a question? Maybe we discovered that fashion entrepreneurs in the world does not make enough money, no? So there might be some of the entrepreneurial traits that they are lacking on. So we can go and design a training program for them. Can you see how much information does that one question give us? And that is what I'm looking for in your specific question. Can you see you will not get so much answers from I'm happy with my sewing career. Do you see that? Quite a difference between the two questions. Right. So you got it now clear that your research question is one big question covering your whole project. Your field questions are those small little questions that contains various variables in it which you want to determine how successful are they in there or not successful, so that you, at the end of the day, what do you want to recommend? That they should get training on being more positive about their career or whatever the case might be. Do you get the idea of how a research project is working? Okay, right. Let's continue to the next slide. we also have categories of research questions. By the way, this is still everything also written in your chapter 1 in your textbook. We can have descriptive questions that describe something. So your question will give you an answer that describes something. In other words, do teachers still practice corporal punishment? So that is also, can you see that is a very close-ended question because you can answer yes or no on that. No, it does not ask the person to elaborate on it. Okay, so it just describes something. So any question that you ask that just have to answer yes or no, just describe something. Okay, that's a descriptive question. An explanatory question goes in a bit deeper. It is a question like this. Why do schools persist in administering corporal punishment despite the fact that such practices are illegal? Can you hear immediately when you start using the why question, it opens up the avenue and that we explain more. Okay, this question asks to explain why do they do certain things. Look at the next one. An exploratory question is even of a higher value, have more significant. It asks, to what extent, if any, comma, I forgot the comma, are students on former white campuses living socially segregated lives? Yo, what is going through your mind now? Do you wonder about this question? Does this question intrigues you? Do you think, there's a lot of things that goes through your mind. Think of all the things that goes through your mind on this one. Okay. Can you see it's a much deeper question than the previous one that just described how somebody is looking like? Okay. If I'm asking you the question, what is your gender? What's the answer? Male or female? And then I hope we don't have a silly finger of mine, which is the in-betweens one, eh? What is that? Okay, it is not official a gender. Can you see? That just describes a person. All right. So it's a descriptive question. An explanatory question will explain the kind of behavior, like that open-ended question that we ask about, describe what you want to do in, or are you happy with your career, your sewing career? Are you happy with your sewing career? That question is more to explain how happy are they. They are slightly happy, or they agree, or they disagree. Can you see? It tells the extent. While exploratory questions is the second question, how do you feel about your career? And they give you an open-ended answer. All right. So that is the 3 different questions and types of questions that we can get. Now these questions, your research question, should not be really a descriptive question. It should rather be an exploratory question. Rather, it could also be an explanatory question. Each question that you are going to ask in your questionnaire, think of it, they can come out of any of those categories. They are also described in your textbook. These slides will also be put on the Vutela site for you. Right. In a research question, there are some exceptions on the rule, and the exceptions are when we are going to do applied research or action research. Now, applied research is when I'm the lecturer here and I'm going to do a research project on you, and I find out why are you all sit and sleep in my class. Okay, right. So it means I'm boring and so on. So that is kind of action research. Then we will not pose a research question. So there might be some places where we are not using a research question. By the way, if you are not using a research question, we are using a hypothesis, which is more in experimental research. And for the BTEC, we do not require an hypothesis. Maybe when you come and do your master's, and I'm not going to go into hypothesis and so on. I'm sure you have heard about the word hypothesis and so on. So there we go on the exception of the rule. Okay, so applied research is where you are part of the community. All right, righto.